Harborside. Legalize it, yeah, yeah. I will advertise it. Some call it Tampa.
This is the remnants of the Oscar Grant Plaza where Occupy took place. As you can see, it's now empty, but we have something else going on down the street. This dude right here is blocking traffic to help the feds raid Oakland. So now we're coming up on the actual protest that's happening in front of Oaksterdam. The feds just brought their big truck, bringing all their weed inside bags in the truck. There it is right now. Oh, Stormtroopers. Hi, Stormtroopers.
Thieves! All cops are thieves! Fucking thieves! You have no moral in your family!
These Stormtrooper dudes right here look really creepy.
Rapists, they're happy you're here because you're not investigating real crimes.
See? That's what you look like, man. You can't even look at yourself. I'll have my POI call.
I'm pretty impressed.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't know what kind of training they go through at the academy, but it's training. It's working. And we got great video for that story. Unbelievable video for that story. So we think about it sometimes.
This is our news media work, folks. Thanking the police for how good of a job they did protecting the populace. Channel 7 at work, folks.
Nice job, guys.
That's what Channel 7 ABC is all about.
Yeah, that's me.
Making apologies to the police.
Not apologizing. Tell them we got a good story. Really good story.
Ooh, good job, man. Keep lacking. Disney reporter right there, works for Disney, saying how nice of a job the police did. That's what ABC News is all about. Right here, drug engineering agency.
These guys, they ain't no short little fat buggers. They make 3 times as much money as you got. Come on now, what are you doing? Come on, Pearson, come and tell me you want to go home. You want to go home? You don't want to do this? We don't want to do this. Hey, Ramiro, look around, man. You know you want to be busting some heads somewhere else out these days. You want to grab some crackhead, some heroin dealer, some illegal gun merchant. That's what you want to do, Ramiro. That's what you signed up. You just signed up to be embarrassed and ashamed, have your picture taken and shown all over national television. Is that what you really want, Ramiro? Come on now.
Hey, an undercover hippie cop. Look at the hippie cop. Undercover. Hey, dude. Nice job. Nice blown, brother. You know you smoke weed.
Get your men out of here, Sarge. You know that. These guys don't need your help. Come on. Come on, guys. There's a murder in Hagenberger right this minute. There's a cold body laying in blood on the streets. And you guys are here. You're here watching the feds take down marijuana plants.
So they're closing up the truck. They took all the supplies.
Go home. And I tell you what, you're embarrassed that you got your picture taken with all these poor people that are sick and dying. Go home and tell them I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be there with the feds that told me to personally do it themselves. They had to call Oakland PD. They had to call Oakland PD. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now.
I'm a woman who lives at home by herself and wouldn't want me to learn it. That the citizens that voted to be legal. You are full.
Stormtrooper movement's taking place. There it goes.
Ready? You are fired. You are
eyeballs me real toughly right here. Looking like he wants to beat some heads.
Get out.
Looking all tough.
Yep.
There's a part-time undercover hippie. How's it going, man? It's getting pretty heated. These guys are losing control of the situation a little bit. It's pretty nice. Remnants of the people who raided Oaksterdam. U.S. Marshal right here. We have another U.S. Marshal over here hanging out. Acting cool. IRS CID police right here. Wearing bulletproof vests. This guy, I can't tell what he is. Maybe U.S. Marshal. U.S. something. Who the fuck knows? I'm driving away with a giant truck full of weed.
The DEA backing down.
Yeah.
Backing down.
The remnants here of a protest taking over the streets of Oakland. Broadway is completely shut down. There's pretty much nothing anybody can do. The cops they don't even have control over the situation at all. Okay, they're going back to their unmarked Fed cars. There they are, guys. This is what your tax dollars pay for. Right here. Giant SUVs with a bunch of fucking assholes inside. There they are, they're their vehicles.
Thank you for getting all of that. Glad there's no heroin.
Clandestine DEA. You ever watch the X-Files? Well, this is what the guys drive. Unmarked. No government markings on their car whatsoever. Right here. There he is. Nope. Oh, there you go, DEA. Good job.
Pussies! Be a cop.
Pussies! Here's the ABC News lackey again. Let's take a look at him.
Well, if he's stealing the money, we all stealing the weed.
You got a lobotomy? I'm not sure what that bandage is on his head, but just another day in Oakland, California.
They're looking around. Wait, yo, they're looking around. Guys, look. You can see it on his phone. They're talking to each other. They're huddling up. Ooh, look, that's a cop right there. See his back. Yeah, it's like 6, 7 of them. It's like 6, 7 of them. Yeah, we can fuck them up, guys. I can really take them. Don't say that close to me.
I'll get the one get hit. We are here back in Oakland, California. Oh, dude, I'm live on the internet. Can I get up in there? Go for it, dude. Go for it. Live on the internet. We are here back in Oakland, California. Oh, dude, I'm live on the internet. Can I get up in there? Go for it, dude. Go for it. Live on the internet.
I got it for you.
We have, there they are. We're live on the internet, so be smart. Hey! We're live on the internet, so be smart. DEA, go away! DEA, go away! DEA, go away! Go away! All right. We'd appreciate it if you leave now, was what we're saying.
Thank you. Basically, I'm a taxpayer, thus meaning I'm a contributor to your salary.
So right, yeah, Oaklanders have found out there are some DEA agents inside Coffee Shop Blue Sky here on 17th. And Sorry about that.
We have you surrounded.
You are live and direct with Oaktown Live. My name is Pirate. I am your camera monkey. And there are several DEA agents in independent media. Thank you. Cheers. People chanting they want their medicine back. For those of you who didn't see the first... Oh, glass has been broken. I didn't see anything fly, so I think that came from the inside. Excuse me?
The police just broke out a window.
The police
have broken the window.
The police broke the fucking window out at us. Your ass is arrested.
Police broke out a window.
We don't appreciate your black bloc tactics! Quit breaking shit! Quit breaking shit!
Hey! Do you realize you are liable for the safety of people out here? Do you realize you are liable for the safety of people out here? You cannot be breaking shit.
And serving now.
That's why we can't have anything nice and big!
The police broke the window inside Coffee Shop Blue Sky. There is no projectiles here. Nothing was thrown. The break came from inside.
Glass is out.
The glass is out. The glass is on the outside of the street.
Look, there's glass all the way out here, which means they hit it really hard.
The projectile, the break came from inside Coffee Shop Blue Sky.
Hey, fuck you,
But they just kicked it, maybe?
Could have been. I don't know.
All I'm saying is there's glass 5 feet away from that.
That is fucking property destruction. I do believe that it also be illegal and a clear present danger. There are people here. This is broken glass, burning glass. It blew out. I was like, and they broke out the window.
Oakland is not happy.
Well, be careful. Be careful. They want to hurt you. I know, but they want to hurt us.
With their hands in the air.
Yeah.
The glass is on the outside.
Outside unarmed!
Excuse me, this is
Turn yourselves over to the citizen mob of Oaklanders outside while you break the law, you fucking fascists!
They're breaking the law and our windows, dick.
We buy in full transparency, why don't you act in full transparency?
I don't see any projectile, man. You know, the glass is on the outside here, man.
You can't hide in
If
If that had been kicked this way, all the much more glass would have been inside. So they can't.
We know you're in there.
Nobody will get hurt.
Come on out. We want to talk to you.
This is the scene live and direct from Oakland, California, where the DEA and the IRS since this morning have been raiding cannabis establishments associated with activist Richard Lee. Richard was detained earlier today. Yes, Marshals. Big Texas in the house. Live and direct on the internet.
Hold the line, cowards! We have you surrounded! people.
Please put down their weapons and others surrounded.
You see this, you fucking prick?
You guys want to go in? Excuse me, who do I file a report about? Because I feel like the police breaking that window and trying to harm me, and I would like to file a report. I would like to file a report on the police officers who intended to harm us.
Live and direct from Oakland, California. Can you get a buffer zone away from the door? Ladies and gentlemen. Protesters are sitting down.
You're not welcome here. You're a war criminal. You're a war criminal. Big Texas in the house.
Andre!
Take your
Hey! Fucking heathen! Get the fuck out of my city! Hey, heathen! Get the fuck out!
You're not welcome here.
You fucking heathen! You too! You fucking heathen!
You're not welcome here. You're criminals not welcome in our city.
Hey, Japan checking in, watching what's happening in Oakland, California. Arigato. Gozaimasu.
Get real fucking deep, bro. Get real deep into it. That's what you do for a fucking living, you heathen motherfucker. This is what you do for a living. You got guys actually climbing up your motherfucking ass. Not my role, big boy. All fucking
How do you sleep at night, coward? Coward!
Educated, transparent, self-regulated motherfucker. Oakland style. That's right. We don't fucking need you. Go home. Go the fuck home. We don't fucking need you. We self-regulate. We don't fucking need you. Motherfucker. We don't want
Over some weed? Over some medical weed, brother? They worth it? Goddamn, you know they worth it, bro. Over some weed? All this over some medicine? Over a plant? Over gardening? All of this for gardening?
50% chance of getting cancer, bitch. And you know what? When you're gonna fucking die, I'll still help you.
Open the door, man. They got us surrounded.
We'll help you. We're better than you. We're fucking better than you.
Mic check! Mic check! Mic check! Mic check! Mic check!
Motherfucker. That's right. Hey, calm down.
Don't push back. You have to
I want professionalism. I hate we got it. I want fucking professionalism.
Mic check! Jump on the mic, man. Jump on the mic. Mic check!
Mic check!
Mic check! Mic check! Mic check! Mic check! Mic check! Mic check! Mic check!
That guy's the boss.
That guy's the boss! Why? That's the boss! Mic check! That guy's the boss!
I'm still getting paid to be here.
Really doing society breakdown.
Oakland, buddy. We don't fucking need you. Did you find out here?
Moving in on the situation.
Scumbag. You work for the jackbooted government.
Right now, you hate yourself. You were all lined
We're documenting this for posterity. Camera pole.
Fucking grandpa, someone's gonna put a gun on your head. Why did you go? Let's go! What is up, man?
It was one of the marshal in the hat right there, standing up. He's the one who shoved it. He's the one who started the shoving. We have it live on the internet. The U.S. Marshal and the hat standing up right now. He was the one who started the shoving. We have it all on camera.
What is up, man? 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 What is up, man?
Hey, move up. Move up. Let's go. We're live on the internet. Go. DE agent with a rifle. DE agent with a mask and an M16. How you doing, brother? I'm cool. I'm good. I know where I'm at. Thank you. This DE agent has his badge number covered up. The DE agent with the rifle has his badge number covered up. There you go. The DE agent with the rifle has his badge number covered up. Live on the internet. Live and direct on the internet from Oakland, California. DE agent with an M16 or an A4, where the fuck it is. His badge number covered up.
Take off
He's also wearing a mask.
your gun, you bitch!
Where? Oh, you got the evidence. So shoot it.
You have got to know it's crazy. You have got to know it's crazy.
We have a badge covered up. No, you want to go. Female badge number.
Get out of here. He needs to leave. He needs to leave. He needs to leave.
Journalist. We are live and direct on the internet. Everything happening is being filmed live on the internet. Marshal Big Texas is putting the arrestee up against the wall.
Put your hands on female. You're a fucking pussy. You ain't big on a pussy. That bothers you.
I have it live on the internet. There's an unidentified marshal, looks to be in his mid-50s with a blue hat, who is the one who started the shoving. I have it live on the internet. He's either right in front of me. Coming through. Coming through. All right. The DEA are leaving. U.S. Marshals as well. Here's the person. What's your name?
What's your name? The KPFA News. I'm a news reporter with KPFA.
The Marshals are arresting a news reporter with KPFA. Jose, what's your name again?
KPFA.
They're arresting a KPFA reporter. Federal Marshals.
Right now!
They're arresting a journalist. They're arresting a journalist with KPFA. up by the DEA agents. This is the arrestee. This is Jose, the journalist from KPFA.
Don't you hurt him. You beat him up for nothing.
All right, people are sitting down in the street.
Hold on, you got your hand on the
Let him go!
Shame on you!
This DEA agent is accused of hitting Villa Echo. This is the arrestee. This is Jose, the journalist from KPFA.
Don't you hurt him. You beat him up for nothing.
All right, people are sitting down in the street.
Hold on, you got your hand on the
Let him go!
Shame on you!
This DEA agent is accused of hitting Villa Echo. This DEA agent right here is accused of striking the live stream of Villa Echo in the face.
He hit me. He fucking hit me.
What is your name, officer? This officer right here. This officer right here is accused of striking the live stream of Villa Echo. Live and direct on the internet. This man right here.
I'm not going nowhere.
Get out of the way, get out of the way.
Try to document what's going on, sir. This is the DEA agent. Oh, that's a U.S. Marshal. U.S. Marshal. You got a badge number, sir?
Your uniform is not the law.
I'm not going nowhere.
The U.S. Marshal accused of striking the live stream of Villa Echo.
Next time you put hands on me. Hey, you hit me in the face, dude. What's your motherfucking badge number?
We have your badge number, officer?
What's your name and your badge
We have your badge number, officer?
Can you hear me now? Go back up.
Can we have your badge number, officer?
What's your badge number?
You're accused of striking a journalist in the face. Have you got any comment? You're accused of striking a live streamer in the face.
What's your badge number?
Hear me now, bitch.
You're accused of striking a live streamer in the face, officer. What's your badge number?
You got everything. What about your soul? Fuck the U.S. Marshals.
Do we have some identifiers, sir?
You forgot your soul. Listen, you forgot your soul.
You've been accused of striking a live streamer.
You know you got your fucking humanity overseas? You got some humanity? You got some integrity? How about a little integrity?
Badge number. Can I please have your name and your badge number?
You guys are asshole. Give us your name and your badge number.
No. Where's your
Badge
name?
number.
What is your name and your badge number?
Do we have a name and a
What
badge
is your
number?
name and your badge number?
The internet wants to know.
name and your badge number.
Give us your name and your
The internet wants to know, sir. We're live on the internet. Live and direct on the internet.
not a
We'd like to know
legitimate
your badge
request to get
number.
your name and your badge
Do we have
number?
some ID?
Not a legitimate
Do we have an identifier, sir?
What's your name?
You need to stop saying his badge number. He's a
What is
fucking
your
war
name and
criminal.
your badge
I'm
number?
sorry, I'm hooked up here. I'm hooked up here. I'm hooked up on you. I'm trying to get undone. Motherfucker. I'm good. Thank you, brother. I'm chill. No, my cable was hooked up, but fuck it. My cable was hooked up. I'm good. Pirate's okay.
Are now focusing on the shooting. They want to do us. We're going to go up and get Rebecca Kaplan, the at-large city council member, in a few minutes. So because of the attack by the feds on the protester on 17th Street, where they beat him senselessly and then almost ran people over with their cars, taking them out of there. Because of that, a lot of the crowd was dispersed in several places, and so we're trying to get everybody back together again. So there's a little bit of a hiccup on when we're going to start the press conference, but we're going to have one. And so if we could just start getting the crowd to come back over here in the next half hour or so, we'll get Rebecca Kaplan down here.
Do you know if that protester was arrested by Oakland PD? I didn't see any video of it.
No,
The feds. We got a live.
But did the feds
hit him first?
And this is former police officer Nate Bradley, retired police officer, injured police officer, and he's the executive director of
Lawmen Protecting Patients.
Lawmen Protecting Patients.
I watched the feds go by, and the short fed guy, he pushed the older guy. He pushed him first. He was like, "Rrr!" And he pushed him backwards, and the guy got upset and pushed him back. And then it was a shoving match. But
All right. Wow. Yeah, so as I've been mentioning all day long, this was a completely federal effort. There were no consultation with the city of Oakland in advance of this, and that, the city was caught by surprise. They did not raid all the cannabis dispensaries. They raided the ones associated with Richard Lee. And if you don't know Richard Lee, Google him. He's
look to check, make sure we tell them the right number, the one for this area. And so what we've seen from Richard Lee, who has been a surrogate operator, he's helped clean up the neighborhood, he's organized neighborhood beautification efforts and community cleanup, he's helped build relationships with the other local small businesses and the school.
No, not our school.
Oh,
Lighthouse.
Right. And he's built relationships with other institutions and neighbors in the community. And so again, I don't know what crime they're claiming he's committed that warrants this type of response, but I do know that his involvement in Oakland has been overwhelmingly positive, and that he's been a responsible local community participant who's been involved in neighborhood strengthening, who's been involved in neighborhood beautification efforts, who's helped to fight crime. And so obviously, I can't comment on the charge, not knowing what the charge is, but he's been an exemplary community member from everything we've seen so far. And I think the real important question, though, from Oakland's perspective, is how we fight violent crime. If we have extra law enforcement resources available to spend extra time, we need them to be out fighting illegal guns. We have a crisis of armed robbery. We have small restaurant owners who have been shot and robbed, and we struggle in this economy to find the resources to have enough law enforcement to go after the illegal guns, to go after the murderers, to go after people who are committing armed robbery. And so I would ask that if any enforcement office has extra officials to spend, we really need them to be going after violent crime, to be going after gun dealers, and to be going after people who are committing armed robbery. And that's what it would take to keep the community safe.
Thank you.
I'm concerned for all the victims of the violent crime right now while the cops are down here guarding a school. I mean, that's what's offensive to me for my tax dollars.
Yeah.
So I must have been, but you're saying, so I assume that Oakland officials such as yourself haven't been briefed by the feds on this yet?
No, we have not.
And so your first reaction about hearing about the raid,
Yes, so we did not get briefed about it. Oakland was not involved in this decision. And so obviously we're concerned whenever anything is happening in our city, but particularly given the public crisis of gun crime and illegal gun dealers. And illegal gun dealers cross state lines, they cross city lines. Gun dealing is a deadly crime that is causing death throughout Oakland. And that's the type of thing that we need enforcement help with, particularly since illegal guns do usually cross state lines and cross city lines, so it's hard for a city to solve it by itself. And so when there are extra law enforcement resources available, they really should be devoted to fighting violence and to fighting illegal guns.
Right on. Council member, how do you feel this is an attack on the city and what it's tried to do to make the industry regulated and legitimate?
Well, again, we don't know what the charges are yet, so I don't know whether or not there's some charge that they are claiming. However,
Oakland
what
City
we
Council.
do know is that Oakland's history of regulating cannabis facilities with strict regulations, with background checks, with zoning rules, with rules about what hours they can operate and how they can operate, has been a success. We have not had crime or violence associated with our dispensaries, and that's because they are tightly regulated and people have to go through background checks and tests to get a permit, and so we have not had the problems that other cities have had that haven't had that type of regulation. And let me be clear, there have been dispensaries in other cities that have caused problems where there aren't as tight regulations. And so cities like Los Angeles and San Diego have been asking for help to shut down problem dispensaries who were operating without a permit. So maybe the feds can go help those cities that want to shut down those facilities that were operating outside the permit system. The fundamental problem here, of course, is a question of democracy. The voters of California adopted Prop 215 over a decade ago. It is the law of this state. Different cities have grappled with it in different ways. Washington, D.C. is now issuing permits locally. Sacramento, Richmond within California are taking further steps to regulate. And the cities that have not had a regulatory system have had problems. And so if there are enforcement officials who what they do is shut down dispensaries, I would recommend that they work with those cities that are having problems with specific dispensaries to target the ones that actually are causing trouble for the community rather than the ones that aren't.
What do you want to hear from the federal government? What do you want to know to explain what they're doing?
The question was, what do we need to hear from the federal government? Well, frankly, as a representative of the people of Oakland, my constituents' top priority is to be fighting gun violence and stopping gun crime. And that is by far the most important law enforcement issue that my constituents continually bring up. How can we get more resources to go after illegal gun dealers? How can we fight gun crime? We know that we're in a time of economic struggle. There aren't unlimited resources. And so to me and to my constituents, the top question is, if there aren't enough resources to do all of what we need to do, how do we make sure those resources are going to fight violence, going to fight illegal gun dealing, and going to actions that will make the community safer?
This is a social justice issue, and voters cannot be punished for their verdicts. When this goes to court, we have to remember this. Jurors cannot be punished for their verdicts.
Is there any reason to believe that there is any illegal activity going on at these places? At Oaksterdam, or the other places?
Like I said, I haven't heard the charges. I know in other cities, local officials have had a specific dispensary with whom they have had problems. We have not received any complaints like that in terms of any sort of violence or other illegal activity. But of course, I haven't seen what the charges are, so we will be interested to find that out. But in terms of what the people of Oakland have been saying to me and continue to say publicly, we need all possible law enforcement resources to be focusing on gun crime and working to stop the violence.
Oaksterdam has been founded
You know that the cops pushed the woman off the sidewalk?
State and federal law, how to follow state and federal law. We're trying to teach people quality training in the cannabis industry, how to do the right thing.
Can you talk about the economic impact if the dispensary has to shut down?
Trying to bring in tough regulation. We're not the first. This is a long line of attacking the people that are trying to be regulated.
Just talking to one of the people from Americans for Safe Access, he's trying to figure out why this is happening.
All right. That was Councilmember Rebecca Kaplan, City Council of Oakland, talking about, what the Oakland City constituents want, and it's more effort on gun violence, less on cannabis.
We do.
On Tuesday, July 10th, DEA agents taped a notice of property forfeiture to the doors of our facilities in Oakland and San Jose. These notices threaten to seize the properties we are located in from our landlords. Harborside is not in imminent danger of closing. We anticipate several months of legal proceedings prior to the forfeiture case being resolved and are confident that we have a strong case. A press conference will take place tomorrow morning to explain our position to the public and demonstrate the great amount of political support that we have.
What better cause? What better mission, you know? There's no other mission in life that I'd rather have than this one.
Today, Harborside is universally recognized as having set the gold standard for legal, legitimate, regulated distribution of medical cannabis. We do not fit into any of the categories outlined by the Department of Justice. We are not close to a school. We are not profiteers. And we are not out of compliance with state law. Now we are being told that we are targets simply because we are too large. But the reason we have the largest number of patients is because we have provided the highest level of care and met a need that was desperately needed. This attack, if it's successful, is going to return many thousands of patients to the illegal market. Street drug sales and law enforcement costs in Oakland are immediately going to rise when $22 million worth of cannabis sales goes back onto the streets. Over $3 million worth of tax revenue is going to be destroyed. And in this time of joblessness, over 100 jobs, our incredible employees are now at risk of becoming jobless. We will contest the Department of Justice openly, in public, and through all legal means at our disposal. We look forward to our day in court and are confident that justice is on our side. We will never abandon our patients. We have no intention of closing our doors. We shall continue to provide this medicine. We know that when dispensaries close, it's the most vulnerable patients who suffer the most. We've seen firsthand how this medicine helps our patients. We cannot and will not walk away from our duty to help them. We intend to keep the commitment that we made 6 years ago, a commitment to provide the very best cannabis medicines in the safest and most legitimate way possible. We are going to keep that commitment as faithfully as we can, for as long as we can. And we are confident when the history of these days is written, that our grandchildren will be proud to read of what we have done. Thank you. Certainly, I'm not feeling any more fear or any more anxiety than I've felt over the course of the last 6 years. I think the federal government has clearly overreached, and that this is our opportunity to hold them to account.
Members of the DEA decided to raid Oaksterdam, which is a university in Oakland. And it's a university for those who want to be entrepreneurs in the marijuana business. If they want to open a dispensary, it teaches them how to grow the marijuana, how to run a business. Now, it's really interesting that they got raided because the Obama administration, when he was campaigning, mentioned that he would not raid any dispensaries. He said that he would respect state laws and he wouldn't get involved in this ridiculous war on drugs. He didn't say he would legalize marijuana, but he said he wouldn't raid these places.
Okay, now, Oaksterdam University is the way that we refer to it, but of course it's a trade school, but you know, it is a real trade and they do teach folks how to do this, and that's why, of course, the DEA doesn't like it, because they don't want you selling drugs. They don't give a damn what your state law is.
This is a bad week for colleges in Oakland that no one has ever heard of.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but what's amazing is, you made a good point right now by bringing that up, because there's a shooting, right? And that's what officials should be focusing on, not raiding a marijuana university.
Right. A small Christian college in Oakland was shot up by somebody who used to go there, at least 7 dead. Instead, the DEA, the U.S. Marshal Service, and the IRS all raid Oaksterdam together. Like, meanwhile, as Anna pointed out, there's a shooting going on across town. Like, I mean, the cops showed up at the shooting, don't get me wrong, right? But this is an enormous waste of our time and our efforts, etc., and a total violation of President Obama's campaign pledge to, not interfere with the state business. And it's gratuitous. It's gratuitous in the sense that it's a gratuitous violation of President Obama's pledges because he reappointed a Bush official at the DEA who is ballistic on this stuff and went on the warpath, and President Obama's like, oh, golly gee, what could I do? Okay, and now Attorney General Eric Holder is talking about how dangerous drugs are and how we need to bust these things up.
The Obama administration raided more than 100 dispensaries in its first 3 years and is now poised to outpace the Bush administration's crackdown record.
Ben, what's wrong with this guy? I mean, why does he have to do something that is over-the-top conservative on nearly every issue? Like, who was clamoring for a drug? Like, who was saying Obama's too weak because he didn't do a drug crackdown? Nobody was saying that.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure that's true because Los Angeles city officials are not even remotely happy with the number of dispensaries. I presume the mayor of Oakland isn't into it either. So there were way more than that law intended. Like, they didn't, I mean, it was a poorly written law and there were way more dispensaries. I don't know anything about Oaksterdam University, except there's no way they've ever won a sporting event ever.
Unless it's couch surfing.
Yeah. So, dude, what's the score? Oh, we're getting killed. That's awesome. But like I don't know. I mean, my limited understanding of the law is that you can have these dispensaries, and then for medical reasons, which again is a joke. I got 7 friends who have anxiety and they go get their weed. But this doesn't seem to me to be that, which might make it, I don't know. Can you have a college that just goes around teaching people how to grow weed? I don't know.
No. Yeah, they look, their pretense is definitely for medical purposes. It's so that they can grow it, so they can give it to people who need medical marijuana. And the reality is, of course, some people in reality do need medical marijuana. Yes. And keep it real, it's a tiny percentage. A lot of people get their weed, as Ben is saying, for medical reasons, right? But I love it because I think I want to go towards legalization. People of California, and actually, by the way, across the nation now, are in favor of medical marijuana and are now getting to the point where they're in favor of legalizing, period. Forget medical or otherwise. And in the same time, Obama's headed in the wrong direction.
Did they give a reason for the raid?
Right now, they have not given a reason for the raid. There were IRS officials there as well, so I don't know if there are tax issues there. We don't know, and I, did some research on the story to see if there are any updates to it, and at this point, there are no updates.
But I would hate it if they were, if you're using the IRS because you can find something if you dispose a lot of IRS agents at a university. I mean, that would be terrible.
No, that's unquestionably what's going on. They're Al Caponeing them. That's how they got Al Capone, is on IRS. But they're trying to do it out in the open. That's what bothers me so much. Like, you go after illicit drug gangs in Oakland, God bless, okay? But here, these guys are trying to do it with a cooperation. In fact, Oakland passed an ordinance where they would have gotten over $7 million in taxes from these guys. And they were happy to pay those taxes.
As I was saying, I know LA has objected to it, but I think Oakland was more, embraced it.
Absolutely. In fact, Councilwoman Rebecca Kaplan said, we have not had crime or violence associated with our dispensaries, and that's because they've been tightly regulated. If you regulate them, then it's safe for everybody, right? And instead, they go in here like guns blazing, not literally, because thank God they didn't shoot anybody in this case.
Yeah, they probably just walked in.
Right, yeah. And they're like, dude, someone's here. No, but seriously, there were protesters outside, and they were saying,
some of the protesters
medicine is not a crime, DEA, go away, which, by the way, is not the best chant, but nonetheless.
They were smoking doobies in front of the officials, which I think is pretty badass.
So today's the gold rush. This has been a city of free thinkers. And I don't have to remind you about the Summer of Love right across the bay in San Francisco. How it got to Oakland, I'm not quite so sure, but that's another question.
In my place where I am found, I'm still amazed that you're not around.
Hi, my name is Sawa Ibrahim, and welcome to Oaksterdam.
Oaksterdam does come from
combining Oakland and Amsterdam, obviously, and that is our working model. You know, that's what a lot of activists in the 90s went to Amsterdam and, looked at that and said, hey, we can do this here. You know, it shows it can work.
Current Oaksterdam spans from 19th Street to Broadway to 15th Street down to Webster, and that's kind of the pot-friendly district. Moving along. Now we're at the campaign headquarters. This is actually the second home of Oaksterdam. Right now we are running the Tax and Regulate Cannabis campaign out of this office. And after the campaign is over and we win on November 2nd, it will be converted into a visitor center and a museum. Come on in.
Oaksterdam University is the major sponsor for Tax Cannabis 2010. It started last March when we did a poll that showed for the first time a majority of California voters in favor of legalization.
Tax and Regulate Cannabis is a statewide initiative that would allow for adults 21 years of age and older to possess up to an ounce and cultivate 25 square feet. It would also allow for cities and counties to decide how and if they would like to tax the commercial sales and commercial cultivation. All right. So this is New Oaksterdam University.
Oaksterdam University started after I went to Amsterdam in 2006, and I saw the Cannabis College there, which is like a little information center. But then in 2007, I was thinking about new projects to do and thought about the Cannabis College. I thought it'd be a good idea to take it to the next level of actually having classes. We ran an ad in the East Bay Express, the local alternative weekly here, and within minutes of it hitting the newsstands, the phones were ringing off the hook, and so we realized we had to do it then because the demand was so great.
Semester students on their first day plant a seed, and they go through the whole process of the plant all the way up to harvest, and at the end we donate the medicine to a patient who can't grow for herself. We're currently growing for a patient named Yvonne White. She's confined to a wheelchair. She's an MS patient.
Very soon we will have graduated 10,000 students.
Classes that we try to emphasize the most are like legal issues, knowing your rights, politics and history and advocacy.
Knowing that I have the opportunity to reach out and speak to these students is just wonderful for me. I love the idea of being able to hopefully activate them, get them out there organizing and helping us to finally legalize cannabis once and for all.
And it's just really important that people know kind of where this whole movement came from and where we're going, and really trying to get people involved, because that's the only way we're going to be able to accomplish anything.
Well, I am a nurse. I'm a registered nurse with a bachelor's degree who has run hospice, home health, and adult day health care in my county. I'm here because I believe in the medicine itself, that it does work and it does take care of a lot of ailments. And I believe that our country is in a prescription drug crisis. And I think that we need to be looking at alternative medicines for pain and symptom management.
It's really interesting how this whole industry is shaping up, and Oaksterdam University is really instrumental in providing sort of accreditation to this.
We'd love it if your viewers came on down and signed up for classes. We got lots of spots available coming up for this summer and fall.
Across the street is Bulldog Coffee Shop. It's the second cannabis outlet in Oaksterdam.
One of the reasons we named ourselves the Bulldog Coffee Shop, or our first coffee shop, named it after the Bulldog in Amsterdam, because they were so tenacious, that they were getting busted sometimes more than once a week, but they just kept reopening, and now the Bulldog has like 7 locations, a couple hotels and restaurants. They pay millions of dollars in taxes.
So this is Coffee Shop Blue Sky. Coffee Shop Blue Sky is one of the permanent dispensaries here in Oakland. The front acts as a regular coffee shop. It's open to the public, and the back is where you would get your medicine from. We
really have tried hard to sweep the sidewalks and be good neighbors and help improve the area, and so the neighborhood, the neighbors know that.
It's not a secret. It's okay. We are actually helping revitalize this community.
Put energy and be about improving your community, improving the neighborhood.
And so we're offering like a safe environment for our patients and for our neighbors. Coffee Shop Blue Sky. I think that's Aphrodite, and she's holding a joint. I mean, she really is holding a joint. Like, I don't know what else that could be. And so this is the Oaksterdam gift shop. You're welcome to come in. And this is a sweatshirt from the San Francisco Cannabis Buyers Club. It's the first ever dispensary in San Francisco. And then there's a petition for the Prop 215. And we've just been collecting little artifacts here and there. Ultimately, when we're done fighting the drug war, we're going to need to have like some sort of chronicle of our adventure. And so it'd be really nice to, you know, have a museum here in Oaksterdam.
The reason Oaksterdam is the way it is now is because of a lot of hard work and courage by a lot of people over the years. Jeff Jones and Jim McClellan, and there's just on and on, a lot of names, a lot of them no longer with us, AIDS patients from back then who stood up and said, you know, take me first, you know, we're going to open up these medical dispensaries, and if you want to stop us, you're going to have to come arrest us.
Are there forces of opposition around, like religious groups?
Not in Oakland.
So this is just a wonderful place to be getting involved. It's kind of the epicenter of the movement, I'd almost say.
I think everybody kind of understands that our current drug policy has failed, and by taxing and regulating cannabis, we'll make for safer communities and allow for the state to have a chance to get out of its budget deficit.
California is a decriminalized state, and it's a medical marijuana state, and we're still arresting nearly 75,000 people a year. That's outrageous. It's a waste of resources.
People are really asking questions about why are we wasting taxpayers' money trying to arrest, prosecute, and imprison marijuana offenders when we could be reaping tax benefits from a legally regulated market.
Right now, this drug violence going on down in Mexico, it's awful. And I can tell you one thing for certain. The drug cartels do not want you to vote yes on the Tax Cannabis Initiative.
If Americans have a right to drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, and have guns, then they have a right to smoke a joint. It's as simple as that.
Is this real life?
Yeah, this is real life.
Judge Gray.
Well, thank you. I guess I am the final presenter list formally on here, and I want to commend you, first of all, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Hagman, for inquiring in this. I want to commend you for your leadership in bringing up this really important topic. And I'm also going to commend you for staying within schedule. That's an amazing accomplishment in itself. I would, now that I guess I am the last presenter, like to comment quickly about a few other things that have been discussed, and then I would like to talk to you about children. But that issue really has not been addressed particularly, except maybe by Reverend Richardson. The first is that if this state of California were to in fact make this marijuana no longer illegal for adults, that is not at all the same thing as condoning it. We don't condone the smoking of cigarettes or the using of alcohol, etc. So to put that label on it, I think, is inappropriate. Number two, as I have an understanding that today, as we speak here in Sacramento, that there are thousands of people in prisons in the state of California today for doing nothing but smoking marijuana. Thousands in prison for doing nothing but smoking marijuana. Why? Because they're on parole for one reason or another. And once they get off parole for whatever that offense was, if they smoke marijuana, it's a violation of parole, and they're immediately put back into state prison with all of the benefits that they had accrued, getting jobs, etc., supporting their families, being lost. Another one is that the tougher we get with regard to marijuana prosecution, literally, from my experience as a judge, and I have seen this in Orange County forever, the softer we get with the prosecution of everything else. And that is something that we simply have so many resources, and if we're spending them in prosecutions of marijuana, we are not spending them for prosecutions of rape, homicide, etc. Then, marijuana will never put this violence that we heard earlier out of business. All of these statistics that you heard earlier about the violence and the killings of both the police officers and everyone else is occurring under today's system of marijuana prohibition, etc. The only way you put these Mexican cartels out of business and these other violent creatures out of business is to undercut the price, to make it no longer illegal so that you don't have that enormous profit motive to get these people involved with that violence, etc. The only way you do it is to undercut the price, and Assembly Bill 390 is a really good place to start. Otherwise, there are marijuana today that is stronger in our society without a doubt. But the reason why it's out there and stronger is because of marijuana prohibition. That there are lots of people that would much prefer, like you said, not to use the stronger stuff, but the cardinal rule of prohibition is always push the stronger stuff. So if I'm a bootlegger and I run into the same criminal justice problems for selling a barrel of beer as a barrel of bourbon, guess which one I'm going to push? The bourbon, because I make more money. It's the same thing with marijuana. Nothing is going to be legalized in this state. It is a program of the strictly regulated distribution. It wouldn't be legalized. It's a strictly regulated distribution, just like alcohol and cigarettes. We hopefully will not advertise them. Please put into your legislation not to allow this to be advertised. We want to de-glamorize it, not glamorize it. So no advertising, and hold people accountable for their actions. I know I'm going on, but I'd like to talk about children for a couple of minutes, because today our marijuana laws are putting our children in harm's way. We are continuing with this failed program for all of its defects, so-called, because we want to reduce the exposure of a lifestyle of marijuana usage and marijuana selling to our children, and it's doing the opposite. Today, it is easier for our young people to get marijuana than it is alcohol. And if you don't want to listen to me, ask any teenagers you can find. They will tell you that because of alcohol prohibition, marijuana prohibition. And Reverend Richardson kind of stole one of my lines, because it's true, because the illegal dealers do not ask for ID. So let's make it less available for children by regulating and controlling it. Number two, adult drug dealers will recruit children to sell drugs. They will recruit them into their own drug distribution system. For $50 in cash, you can buy all of the 15, 16-year-olds in the inner city or anywhere else that you want to. It's chump change for the adult drug dealer. It's lots of money for a kid. So you use them as gophers and lookouts and couriers, and as soon as their reliability is established, then they're trusted to sell small amounts of drugs out in the communities. And who do they sell to if they're out there doing it? I assure you, no one in this room. They're going to sell to their 14, 15, 16-year-old peers. That is despicable, and it's caused by drug prohibition. So I say, let's reverse that, let's turn it around, let's regulate it, let's control it, because this prohibition is not working. I believe it fervently. I'm so concerned about our children. I'm so concerned about these illegal marijuana out there with all of its ramifications. I want to reduce those harms by passing your legislation, and I commend you again for these hearings.
So we're here at CPAC, and I've just run into someone with a very interesting t-shirt, and it asked me why. So why are you wearing this today, and what's been your response?
Well, the response is my profession should be arresting more pedophiles, and we can do that if we don't waste time on a green plan. I'm here at CPAC today to spread this message that drugs should be a medical issue handled by doctors, not police officers, judges, and prisons.
What kind of response have you gotten from other people here? It is quite a conservative base here, obviously. We're at CPAC.
Well, it's a tremendously positive response. Everyone under 40 gets it. Taking my picture like that gentleman just a minute ago, and overwhelmingly positive. And even for people over 40, a vast majority are now on my side, as they understand that drug prohibition, the war on drugs, is a nanny state liberal policy where they want the government agents, like I used to be, a retired detective, they want government agents to fix stupid. And the government can't fix stupid, and these people get that if you articulate it properly, and that's what I'm here to do.
Is this your first year?
Oh no, this is my 7th.
Has the response been gradually, do you think, improving?
Yes. I mean, in 2006, I was persona non grata. I was like cockroaches. People did not like me. And then Ron Paul came in a couple of years later and just made everyone here realize that you don't want big government agents coming into your home because you're putting something in your body. So Ron Paul has helped them understand personal freedom, limited government action. And so that's why when Sarah Palin was just so great, because she had that big gulp soda, it's the same principle. The government shouldn't be telling you what you can put in your body as an adult. That's just silly.
And it's just getting people to understand that on a more, not just food, that applies to everything, that you are in charge of your own life. So what point in your career did you have a certain turning point, or were you always had this view?
Well, I pretty much always had the view, but when I really became radical was when I became a detective and saw so many crime victims caused by drug prohibition. And when a man, I asked him about his stolen pocket watch that had belonged to his grandfather, I asked him more about it so maybe I could find it at the pawn shop. And he said, "You'll never find it." And then he said, "Well, what was it worth?" He says, "It was priceless." And he slammed his fist on into the wall. His wife started to cry. And at that moment I said, why don't we let these crackheads have all the crack they want until they're dead? Let them leave in peace, the homeowners, as opposed to breaking into those houses. And that was my moment when I said, you know what, you should make this a medical issue, and if you take too much crack cocaine or whatever else and you die, that's your problem. Don't bother good people by breaking into their home. That was my epiphany back 1980, whatever.
What kind of response did you get from other law enforcement when you had this? Obviously, it's kind of a money-making scheme, I think, on a small level when it comes to just marijuana possession. So what response did you get from your superiors? Well, from my superiors, I've had a horrible reaction because they understand very well what you just said. It's a money-making scheme. You give us about $14 billion a year to chase a green plant, Willie Nelson, Snoop Dogg. So for them, it means federal grants, free federal money, free state money to chase the green plant. Now, rank and file, street cops like I used to be, we get it. About 60% will say we should legalize it, treat it like alcohol, tax it, etc. We should not be chasing a green plant. But that's rank and file, and only off camera and perhaps retired or at least drunk. So you have an organization that works with Washington now. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah, I founded COPS, citizensopposingprohibition.org, in 2009 to continue my work in Congress representing law enforcement, that segment that thinks that drugs should be a medical issue. And that my job should be public safety, not your personal safety. And I meet with all members of Congress once a year, 535 congressmen once a year, to spread the message that in Congress it should be a states' rights, 10th Amendment controlled issue. Let Texas run Texas on the green plant, etc. And that's all I do in Congress is say apply the 10th Amendment. Great, and just to kind of wrap it up, what do you see for the future? What kind of direction do you see happening, and how can people spread more awareness about this, that it is an issue that affects a lot of people? Yeah, please contact your congressmen, your senators, and say on the issue of drugs and drug war, make this a states' rights 10th Amendment issue. Because the step number one is to take the power away from Washington and return it closer to the people in the state capitals of Springfield, Lansing, Austin, and Annapolis. That's the first big step, and that's what I ask everybody to do. Just contact your federal officials. They know what to do, they're just afraid to do it.
This is a constitutional battle, and we're going to defend our rights.
And you're willing to risk jail for that?
Absolutely.
In late 2011, the Obama administration's Justice Department initiated a major crackdown on California's medical marijuana dispensaries, despite repeated promises to the contrary.
What I'm not going to be doing is using Justice Department resources to try to circumvent state laws on this issue.
The President said during the campaign, you'll be surprised to know we'll be consistent with what we'll be doing here in law enforcement.
At the time, Reason TV profiled Aaron Sandusky, who ran several successful dispensaries and a grow house in California's Inland Empire, and was shocked to have received a threatening letter from the Department of Justice.
I turned white, jaw hit the floor. It was unexpected.
During the production of that video, Sandusky's operation was shut down, all of his assets seized.
I got $60 in my pocket. That's it. I don't have nothing.
After he and several other operators took their cases to court, they successfully won injunctions against cities trying to ban dispensaries, and Sandusky reopened as the case continued all the way up to the California Supreme Court. But the feds were not happy with this outcome.
We've been battling the city and actually winning cases, including a recent eviction case that G3 won. And the federal government has stepped in and shut it all down.
Sandusky has spent the last 7 weeks in county prison awaiting a bond hearing. Now he's out on bail under house arrest, awaiting trial for federal drug trafficking charges. He agreed to sit down with Reason TV to discuss his situation and the state of medical marijuana in California.
Yeah, this was my first time in prison, and I was surrounded by people, you know, mostly people who were in for parole violations and or possession of drugs, or people that were in violation of parole with drug violations. So, I mean, we're populating our prisons with people that really shouldn't be there.
What was it like that first night you spent in jail?
It was a cold night. It was, you know, sleeping on a steel bed and not knowing what's going to happen, unable to make phone call, wondering what really was going on. Nobody treats you through that whole process as if you are any chance of being innocent. You are guilty till proven innocent. It's unfortunate the federal government is taking this kind of action against me. I mean, I think not only is it an action against me personally, I consider it aggressive action against everybody in our state, especially all of those who are voted for medical marijuana. They strategically hit people that are, I believe, are high-profile cases that they get most bang for the buck. Our case is being heard in front of the California Supreme Court on whether or not cities are allowed to ban and go against the laws that were passed by the state. And so it was a high-profile case, and it got a lot of media attention, obviously, in taking us down. With our particular situation and our cooperative, we had 50 full-time W-2 employees that in one day, everybody lost their job, had to file for unemployment, and lost their medical benefits. 50 employees being put on unemployment was a $70,000 obligation now put on the state, for no other reason than local officials requesting this kind of action from the federal government.
During this interview, Sandusky produced a copy of a letter from Upland's mayor, Ray Musser, requesting help from the Department of Justice in cracking down on dispensaries. A DOJ official replies, saying, "The Department of Justice has stated on many occasions that it is committed to the enforcement of the Controlled Substances Act. This office will continue to give extra consideration to communities like yours that have made it clear that commercial marijuana operations are unwanted. Now that the City Council in Los Angeles, which is home to hundreds of dispensaries, has voted to ban them, many more federal raids could be on the horizon."
This is my message to the LA dispensaries. Be careful how you move forward. Requests are coming from the city officials and they are taking action against those who are pushing the issue with the city. If you're aggressive with the city council and city officials, they're going to be aggressive against you. In California, we have the right to enact laws, and we have our own constitution. And under the 10th Amendment, it provides us protection to enact those laws. This is a constitutional battle, and we're going to defend our rights as American citizens to do what we say we are able to do, and that is pass laws.
And you're willing to risk jail for that?
Absolutely.
But you've seen the statistics in terms of federal prosecution success rates. Isn't that disheartening?
It is very disheartening. I think especially with some of the books that I've read and the time that I was spending in jail about the conviction rates, I find it very disturbing. But I think most of those people end up playing out and taking deals because the federal government, an accusation by the federal government is a guilty till proven innocent sentencing for somebody. So
that you're not going to plead out?
I'm not pleading out. I have no intention of pleading out.
Why?
I'm not concerned about that because I'm going to defend what I believe is right. And if I have to go to jail for 20 years defending then so be it. If a jury finds me guilty of breaking federal law, then I'll go do the time.
Michelle Leonard is a person who was the deputy administrator for the DEA. She was appointed by President Bush in 2003, confirmed in 2004. Now, in 2007, when the top administrator for the DEA stepped down, Karen Tandy, she became the acting administrator. Now, she's very right-wing, and, you know, obviously Bush administration picked her. So when President Obama came in, he probably put his own person at the Drug Enforcement Agency, right? I mean, here's the guy who promised on the campaign trail, hey, don't worry, we are not going to enforce federal law in states where marijuana, especially medical marijuana, obviously, is legal, right? So what did he do? He reappointed and got Michelle Leonard confirmed. So she's now the administrator, and she has been since 2010, of the DEA. What did she do as soon as she got in? A massive crackdown on marijuana dispensaries that are perfectly legal in their own states. And this is now the record-breaking crackdown that we've been talking about on the Young Turks against legal pot in these different jurisdictions. Why is this right-winger running the DEA? President Obama put her there. Why did he put her there? Only God knows. I don't know why he does the right-wing things that he does. So now she's in front of Congress, and she's at the House Judiciary Subcommittee, and Democratic Representative Jared Polis of Colorado asks her a great series of questions. Listen to her comical answers.
Is crack worse for a person than marijuana?
I believe all illegal drugs are bad.
Is methamphetamine worse for somebody's health than marijuana?
I don't think any illegal drug
is good. Heroin worse for someone's health than marijuana?
Again, all.
I mean, either yes, no, or I don't know. I mean, if you don't know, you can look this up. You should know this is the chief administrator for the Drug Enforcement Agency. I'm asking you a very straightforward question: is heroin worse for someone's health than marijuana?
All illegal drugs are bad.
All illegal drugs are bad. That's your answer? She dodged 11 times and would not answer the question. Can't you just say, yeah, okay, you got me. Heroin's worse than marijuana. Crack is worse than marijuana. But marijuana is still really bad. Now, I don't agree with that, but come on. At least that's an answer you can live with. No. It's a level 1 drug, so that's it. No, marijuana just as bad as heroin. Oh, come on. And Polis is going after her because in Colorado, medical marijuana is legal. But here comes Michelle Leonard to try to crack down on that because this is a high priority. Higher priority than heroin, meth, crack? Well, you got to be on something to think that, because she's on this crusade against pot. Thanks to the Obama administration and the Bush administration. Why do we have these guys putting clowns like this in charge of incredibly important agencies? And then, by the way, Polis then went on to talk about, wait a minute, aren't prescription drugs sometimes even more addictive than marijuana? What are you doing about that? Oh, me? That's not my purview. Nothing I can do about that. So if you're hooked on OxyContin, awesome. Marijuana, I'm coming for you. I'm coming. This woman belongs nowhere near government, let alone as the head of the DEA. Thank you. That's change we can believe in, right?
Don't criticize. Legalize it, yeah. I will advertise it.